What would you think if I told you your eye color wasn't just a biological trait but a mirror of your soul's sacred assignment in this life? Carl Jung once said that the soul has its own truth, and perhaps nowhere is that truth more silently potent than in the eyes. Those who've looked deeply into another's gaze know this: there is something ancient behind the iris, something watching, remembering, guiding. Eyes are not passive organs. They do not merely receive light. They emit it. They shine the essence of your inner being. They are the guardians of your archetypal contract. The soul, in Jungian terms, enters this world bearing a mission, something it came here to become, to face, to remember. And encoded in the very blueprint of your body, nestled inside the spiral of your DNA, is not only your ancestry but your psychological destiny. The color of your eyes is no accident, it is an imprint of your emotional frequency, your psychic orientation, and the kind of fire you are meant to ignite in this world. Those with dark eyes, brown or near black, are often the carriers of earthbound wisdom. There is a depth to their stare that feels ancient, almost mythic. These souls came not to escape the world, but to root themselves in it. They are the alchemists of pain, called to transmute suffering into structure, chaos into order. Their gaze holds the memory of generations, they feel more than they show, and carry burdens they never speak aloud. They are protectors, old souls walking in modern skin. But beware when their shadow is unintegrated, their energy turns to control, their love to possession. They must learn that true strength does not dominate, it liberates. And then there are those whose eyes shimmer like ocean's blue, gray hues touched by storms. These are the seekers, the wanderers between realms. The ones whose mission is to remember something they've always known but never quite grasped. Their soul's work is ascent toward the numinous, the unseen, the transcendent. But they are not always grounded. Their lightness can turn to detachment, their idealism to despair when reality does not match the internal vision. Their challenge is embodiment, to bring their spiritual clarity down into the mud of everyday existence, and find God in the ordinary. Green eyes are rare, and so too is the path they walk. These are the soul weavers, bridgers of opposites. Fire and earth, mind and body, logic and magic. Their mission is balance, but not the tame kind. No, they are forged in inner contradiction. Their life is often marked by extremes, rage and tenderness, chaos and calm, because only through mastering both can they reveal the third way. The way of synthesis. But their wound lies in identity, they often feel like they belong nowhere, misunderstood even by those they love. And yet, when they claim their difference as gift, they become visionaries, those who see patterns where others see noise. Hazel eyes, ever shifting, reveal the shapeshifter soul. These individuals are born to evolve. Nothing about them stays static for long, not even the color of their eyes. They are mirrors to those around them, absorbing and reflecting, becoming what is needed. Their soul's mission is transformation. But they must not lose themselves in the masks they wear. Their danger lies in adaptation without authenticity. When unconscious, they disappear inside others, playing roles rather than living truths. But when awakened, they become conduits of change, teaching others that the self is not a fixed statue, but a living, breathing myth. And then, there are eyes of amber, gold, or copper, rare, wild, elemental. These are the rebels, the ones who came to disrupt lineage patterns, to break spells cast by centuries of conformity. Their mission is liberation, and their energy burns hot. They are often misunderstood in youth, punished for their passion, labeled too much, too intense, too free. But they are sacred fire, when directed with love, they light revolutions of consciousness. When repressed, they destroy from within. The alchemical secret of these souls is sacred rebellion, not to burn the world down, but to burn the false selves within it. If you've ever looked in the mirror and seen something wild staring back, something not quite of this world, you're not imagining it. Your eyes remember where you come from. They remember who you were before the masks, before the roles, before the wounds told you to shrink. There's a contract your soul signed before entering this body, and your eye color is part of the seal. So the next time someone tells you that your eyes are beautiful, don't dismiss it. It isn't vanity. It's recognition. A deep, subconscious acknowledgement that something eternal is peering through the finite. Eyes are the soul's whisper, the oracle's murmur, the place where your essence refuses to be hidden. There are men and women walking this earth who have no idea that their eyes are portals. That their glances open doorways into mythic dimensions, that behind a single blink lies the imprint of lifetimes. They assume their gaze is just a gaze, not realizing it carries the frequency of what Jung would call the self, the transcendent center, the eternal archetype calling them toward wholeness. But look closer, and you'll see it. In the boy with storm-gray eyes, always half lost in thought, lies the signature of the philosopher. His sole mission is clarity through introspection, but life will test him with confusion. He'll be asked to navigate contradictions, illusions, and projections, his own and others. He is not here to fit into the world. He is here to understand it. Yet if he avoids conflict, if he refuses to descend into his emotional underworld, his gift turns cold. Wisdom without compassion is just another form of exile. Or consider the woman with eyes of deep chestnut eyes that seem to hold the entire forest in autumn. She is the guardian. Her presence comforts, her touch heals, her loyalty binds. But her challenge is boundaries. Too often, she confuses martyrdom for love. She carries her family's trauma like sacred armor, believing she was born to fix everyone. Her soul's mission is not sacrifice, it is self-remembrance. The moment she realizes that she is not responsible for saving others, but for awakening herself, is the moment she begins to truly live. The green-eyed soul often walks alone, and for good reason. They are disruptors of inherited beliefs. They see behind the veil, and they feel both blessed and burdened by this sight. These individuals are frequently drawn to the mystical, healing arts, energy work, shamanic traditions, not because it's trendy, but because something ancient pulses through their veins. Their mission is to hold paradox, to be both rooted and ethereal, to burn and soothe, to lead and surrender. And yet, many green-eyed beings wrestle with guilt. Guilt for not conforming, guilt for feeling too much, guilt for wanting more. But what if the guilt is not theirs? What if it is the echo of collective suppression passed down through generations who feared their own power? Jung taught that we do not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. And nowhere is this more necessary than in understanding the unconscious contracts carried by the soul's eye color. Your eyes are not innocent. They have seen the inner wars. They have watched the ego and the shadow wrestle for dominance. They have betrayed you and redeemed you. They have seen you hide your truth to belong, to be loved, to feel safe. Yet within that hiding lies the seed of your mission. Take the light-eyed ones, blue, silver, pale green, often labeled as angelic, as if their softness means fragility. But these eyes often mask a ferocity unspoken. Their soul's mission is to love without losing themselves. To embrace vulnerability as strength, not weakness. They are the light workers born into dark families, the sensitive ones thrown into harsh environments, the intuitive ones gaslit into silence. Their work is boundary work. To say no without guilt. To see clearly without absorbing what isn't theirs. Their pain is not a punishment, it is their initiation. And then come the hazel-eyed, the shapeshifters. Ever fluid, ever curious, they embody the mystery of becoming. These are the people who don't fit into one category, who've worn many masks, lived many lives in one. Their soul is not linear, it spirals. Their mission is reinvention. But reinvention without soul is performance. Many of these individuals lose themselves trying to be what others need, what society expects. Until one day, the performance shatters, and their true voice cracks through. That is the beginning. Not the end. If you feel drawn to someone's eyes and can't explain why, stop trying to. What you're feeling is resonance. You're seeing a mission mirroring yours. The eye recognizes what the ego cannot name. You are drawn to their frequency, their myth, their signature. And perhaps, they are drawn to yours, too. There are no coincidences in soul encounters. There is only remembering. Remember this, the eyes are not passive. They are keys. Every gaze you give and receive is a negotiation with fate. And every time you look into your own reflection, you are being invited, not by the ego, but by the archetypal self, to reclaim the mission you may have forgotten. There comes a moment in every soul's journey when the mirror becomes unbearable. When the gaze you cast upon yourself is no longer flattering, no longer distorted by fantasy or self-pity, but raw, terrifyingly raw. It is in that moment that the eyes begin to show their true purpose. Not to seduce. Not to conceal. But to reveal. Eyes, when stripped of social masks, are instruments of self-confrontation. They expose your betrayals of self, of dreams, of sacred instincts ignored for approval. The irises carry not only ancestral light, but ancestral pain. That heaviness in your stare when you're alone? It is the residue of lifetimes spent half awake. But it is also the gateway to waking up fully. For those with dark, shadowed eyes, often mistaken for being guarded or severe, the mission is to teach presence. These souls have often experienced abandonment, betrayal, and harsh lessons in their early lives, not as punishment, but as sacred tempering. Their eyes learn not to expect rescue. Their hearts learn to generate light from within. And now, in their matured form, they become beacons. Grounded. Unshakable. The kind of presence that others instinctively trust. Their power is silent but immense. When integrated, their gaze doesn't demand attention, it commands respect without a word. Light-eyed souls, however, often travel the opposite path. Their journey is toward grounded embodiment. They must learn to anchor themselves in a world that often feels too dense, too coarse, too loud. Many light-eyed children were dreamy, otherworldly, prone to disappear into books, music, imagination, anything to escape the weight of physicality. But the soul's mission is never escape. It is incarnation. And until they root themselves into their bodies, their potential remains fragmented. Once they do, however, they carry a rare gift, the ability to bring heaven into the mundane. They become the bridge between spirit and soil. And the green-eyed? Their inner battle is one of duality. Part of them craves stillness, ritual, sacred simplicity. The other part wants to ignite, to roar, to disrupt the status quo. They are the witches, the priestesses, the warriors of soul alchemy. Often misunderstood by both masculine and feminine energies alike, their task is integration, not rejection. They are not meant to choose sides but to dissolve the false war between them. When they heal, they become embodiment itself, power with grace, softness with sovereignty. They don't beg to be seen, they simply are, and the world cannot help but notice. Amber and golden eyes burn with rebellion. They are the souls who refuse the script. Even when they try to conform, something inside them breaks. The more they suppress their inner fire, the more illness, depression, or chaos rises. These individuals are often accused of being difficult, too much, uncooperative. But in truth, they are the sacred mirror society fears. Their mission is radical authenticity. To speak what others only dare to think. To feel so deeply that numbness itself becomes unbearable. But here lies the danger, they can become addicted to conflict, mistaking destruction for power. Their evolution requires discernment. To know what is worth burning down and what is worth rebuilding. And what of those whose eyes change, hazel, shifting green, brown with golden flecks? Their soul's mission is to walk between archetypes, to become the storytellers, the myth weavers, the conduits of change. They are born with the rare ability to see from multiple perspectives. But they must be careful not to lose themselves in the identities they wear. Their greatest wound is disconnection from self. Their salvation is sovereignty. Once they find it, they become shapeshifters with soul agents of metamorphosis who transform not through force, but through presence. But regardless of color, regardless of tone, every eye carries a shadow. Jung knew that the soul cannot awaken without descending first into the unconscious, the murky, forgotten terrain where our wounds and patterns reside. You, too, must ask, what pain lies behind your gaze? What emotion have you taught your eyes to swallow? What truth have they seen that your mouth was too afraid to speak? Because when the soul represses its mission, the eyes turn dull. Their fire dims. Their clarity clouds. But when the soul rises, when it remembers what it came here for, something astonishing happens. The eyes begin to glow. Not metaphorically. Not symbolically. Truly, visually, they glisten, they pierce, they hold. People start asking if you've changed something, if you're in love, if you're healed. They don't know what it is. But you do. You've come home to your archetype. You've stopped running from your design. And now your eyes speak for you. You are no longer seeking meaning. You are the meaning. There comes a moment, subtle but seismic, when the soul begins to burn from the inside out. It is not a fire of rage or of pain, but of clarity. A sacred blaze that starts behind the eyes and radiates outward, setting illusions ablaze. And in that light, the eyes transform into a kind of compass, not pointing north, but inward. You begin to see others differently. Not through judgment, not through defense, but through archetypal resonance. His eyes carry abandonment, hers the ache of silenced intuition. That one hides a rage too sharp for words, another hides a tenderness too dangerous to show. You start to notice how people's eyes avoid each other not out of shyness, but fear. Fear of being truly seen. Fear of seeing themselves reflected back. But you? You are no longer afraid. Because you have met your own gaze. You have held it, trembling. You have stared into your own darkness without flinching. You have seen the places in yourself that manipulate, that betray, that abandon, and instead of condemning them, you integrated them. That is the soul's true mission, not to become perfect, but to become whole. And now, others feel it. They feel it in your silence. They feel it when you look at them, not as an object, not as a projection, but as a soul. You are no longer playing roles. You are no longer shrinking to fit someone else's love story. You have stopped trying to be enough because you have remembered that the self, the archetypal, eternal self, is always enough, by design. But this remembrance has a cost. You will no longer tolerate shallow connections. You will crave intensity, not in drama, but in truth. You'll find small talk unbearable, half smiles insulting, flattery meaningless. You will long for real. For raw. For rare. The kind of eye contact that makes time dissolve. The kind of presence that silences the room. The kind of love that feels like recognition, not possession, not salvation, but reunion. And you will lose people. Some will walk away, claiming you've changed. Some will accuse your eyes of being too much, too piercing, too knowing, too exposed. They're right. You have changed. And your eyes do expose. Because now they see without filters. They see the child behind the narcissist. The wound behind the arrogance. The plea for love behind the manipulation. You see it all, and you are no longer seduced by it. Because now you walk with the clarity of someone who has reclaimed their soul's vision. This is the sacred function of the gaze, to awaken. Not just others, but you. To remind you that your essence was never lost, only covered. That your mission was never out there, only buried within. That your eyes were not meant for seduction, but for revelation. You were not born to be adored, you were born to be known. You are not here to prove anything. You are here to embody everything. To look in the mirror and see the warrior beneath the doubt. The healer beneath the trauma. The sovereign beneath the scars. You are not your history. You are not your conditioning. You are not your family's expectations. You are not what they loved you for. You are what remains when all those things are stripped away. And the eyes will always tell the truth. Even when the voice lies. Even when the body smiles. Even when the persona performs. The eyes betray the soul's hunger. They reveal what the ego denies. They expose what the mind suppresses. And if you listen closely, if you meet your own gaze without looking away, you will hear it. The whisper beneath everything, come back to yourself. That's it. That's the mission. To return. To the one you were before the world told you who to be. To the eyes that looked out on the world as sacred. To the child that stared at the sky and somehow knew they came from somewhere beyond it. You didn't lose that knowledge. You buried it. And now, it is rising. There is a silence that comes after awakening. Not the absence of sound, but the absence of chaos. It arrives when the eyes, once frantic in search of validation, become still. When you no longer chase meaning outside yourself, because you found it pulsing within. This silence is not empty, it is sacred. It is the throne upon which your soul finally sits. Now, when you look into the mirror, you do not seek to correct or compare. You remember. You see your own eyes as they truly are, ancient, sovereign, unbroken. You see the fire behind them, not the fire of rage or defense, but the original spark. The soul's mission, now reclaimed, now fully embodied. It stares back at you not with question, but with certainty. You realize that your entire life, your entire suffering, was initiation. Every betrayal carved the clarity deeper. Every heartbreak shattered a layer of falsehood. Every humiliation humbled the ego until it could no longer eclipse the truth. And every moment you felt unseen, those were the crucibles where your vision was refined. Where your gaze learned to see essence, not performance. That is what your eye color has always carried. Not just aesthetics, but resonance. A frequency. A path. Brown for grounded strength. Blue for spiritual remembrance. Green for synthesis. Hazel for transformation. Amber for rebellion. And within each, a mission encoded not in words, but in vibration. And now, you live that vibration. You no longer speak your truth, you embody it. You no longer seek alignment, you are the alignment. You walk into rooms and shift the energy without trying. Your eyes have become a tuning fork, calling people back to themselves. They don't know why they're drawn to you. They don't know why they feel seen, stripped, softened. But it is your gaze. Your presence. Your radiance. The soul remembered becomes magnetic. But this is not power over others. This is power over illusion. The illusion of separation. The illusion of unworthiness. The illusion that you were ever anything less than whole. You do not dominate, you illuminate. You do not seduce, you reveal. And in doing so, you give others permission to reclaim their own gaze. Their own mission. Their own sacred flame. The soul's true mission is not a profession or a role or a title. It is a state of being. A frequency that only you can express. The eyes are simply the vessel through which it shines. They are the windows not to your personality, but to your eternity. And so now, you walk this world not as someone trying to arrive, but as someone who has already returned. Returned to center. Returned to source. Returned to self. You are no longer trying to be loved. You are loving. You are no longer trying to be chosen. You have chosen. You are no longer trying to be seen. You see. And that changes everything. There will be moments when your clarity isolates you. Moments when your gaze is too much for those still hiding. Do not shrink. Do not dim. Do not doubt. The soul does not apologize for shining. The mission does not wait for permission. Let your eyes speak what your words cannot. Let them blaze with the fire of your knowing. Let them pierce through masks and awaken sleeping hearts. Let them be the silent prayer of remembrance. Because now, the mission is no longer a mystery. It is your presence. It is your gaze. It is the undeniable truth that you have returned to yourself. And in that return, you are free. You are not here to be understood. You are here to be unforgettable.